She's one of our brightest young actors, from a BAFTA-winning performance in An Education to her roles in Shame and The Great Gatsby. She's always an incredible screen presence. Will you please welcome Carey Mulligan.
Thank you.
Last.
I know, finally.
Carey, come and sit down here, finally out here. Great to see you. Thank you so much for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
You look so different every time I see you. I mean, the hair's different. I guess you are changing yourself for different roles, different parts you're playing?
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. I also just sort of decided to wear my pyjamas tonight.
I like it. It's what we call a onesie, I believe. Is it a onesie or a pantsuit?
It's a onesie.
It's a onesie.
Yeah.
Do you find that it helps... do you find that you don't get recognised as much when you're changing your hair colour, when you're changing the way you look? Is that
I
part
never,
of it?
ever got recognised, and then... which is a good thing. And then I cut a fringe, and then suddenly that became weirdly recognisable.
Fringe... Was that for The Great Gatsby, or was it...
No,
for...
it was like a couple of weeks ago, just because I thought...
And suddenly you look like you again.
Yeah, weirdly.
That's a weird thing. So you're now growing out the fringe, I guess,
desperately, growing out the fringe.
Maybe you could give Gordon some advice, because he's... when people do recognise you, what do they most want to talk to you about? Which of your film roles or your stage performances are they most keen to engage you with?
I think people are quite... Well, apparently there's a set of us that look quite similar. So I was in a taxi... When I was doing a play over the summer, I got in a taxi and the taxi driver went, "Oh, my God, you're that actress." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And then he went, "Yeah, man, in that film with Ryan Gosling." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." He was like, "Oh, Michelle Williams, you are so good." And I was like, no, I'm in the other one. And then he went through the whole plot of The Notebook to try and pin me as great as I can. And then finally I was like, no.
So secretly he was just a major Ryan Gosling fan.
That's what it was, yeah.
But you were with him in Drive, of course. That's an incredible film.
Thanks.
Have you guys seen the film Drive?
I haven't, no.
Oh, wow, it's incredible. Yeah. Only a few people have obviously seen it, but those who have...
Massive hit.
But no, what a great...
It's a kind of kooky film.
And how is it working with the Gos, the baby goose?
Gos, yeah, I mean, it's good. My role in that film was just to stare at him a lot. There you go, yeah.
There you are, staring.
That was my job for a month, so...
So when you're... I mean, because you're offered, I imagine you're offered kind of more mainstream fare all the time, and you've made a deliberate choice not to do that. So what's driving you? What are you looking for in terms of your career or just in terms of doing what you do?
I just really like, you know, great characters and great stories, and whoever the director is or however the size or scale of the production is sort of irrelevant. But I've been really lucky. I've had great opportunities, and I get to do plays, and I get to also take time off, which is so amazing.
I know you're using that in a very interesting way. We'll get to that in a minute. But talking about plays, I didn't see you on stage. I wish I had. You were on stage with Bill Nighy in Skylight, which was last summer, and you're doing that, you're reprising that in New York next year, is that right? OK, that must be quite something, working with something like Bill on stage. Yeah,
that was amazing. Yeah, and he'd actually done the play, that same play, 18 years before and played the same role, so he knew all the words, which was quite intimidating.
He had no rehearsing to do. But once a very intense role, as I understand it. I'm going to try and go and see it in New York, and there was cooking involved on stage.
There was cooking. I had to cook.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it?
Spaghetti bolognese. It's really hard, though. I mean, I actually have a really weird thing that I just have to say. That my father was a hotel manager, and the first hotel that he was a residential hotel manager. And when I was born, we lived in the Mayfair, and it was when you were there.
Oh, wow.
Working as the big chef.
Yeah, wow. Wow,
so you once made a club sandwich for my brother. So I just kind of felt like I had to share.
Well, that was my first ever job.
Was it?
Yeah, I got taken on as a second comedy grade 2, and first position was in room service, getting my ass kicked.
Yeah, so making club sandwiches.
I used to take my frustration out on those club sandwiches.
You don't want to know what that means. Did Mr. Mulligan speak highly of Mr. Ramsay?
Mr. Mulligan spoke very highly of... Yeah, when I said I was doing this, he said, "Oh, you must tell him about the club sandwiches." And now I have, so...
Well, in many ways, it was all downhill for Gordon after that. You know that. Yeah, but I believe, am I right in thinking that you hadn't really cooked much before the play, and it was a learning curve on stage?
Well, because it was a very wordy play, so there was lots of lines to learn. And then I had to learn how to cook, which I don't really. And then there were countless disasters when I was on stage with the gas not working. So I had to do a whole raw spaghetti bolognese one night.
Wow.
And it's great, because, usually in the play, I cook through the first act, so you get the smell of onions and meat, and, it's, the audience sort of get quite hungry, which is not great. And I had to open tins on stage in the middle of an argument. So I was opening tins and then, screaming at Bill, and then one night slammed my hand down on the table to, do some real acting, and hit the tin and sliced my hand open. And then I could sort of, I was kind of in the middle of it, so I didn't really... But I could feel sort of liquid, and my hand started to sort of fill up, and I cupped my hand like that so that the blood would fill up into a little pile. And just it was like 7 minutes till the end of the act, and I just sort of thought, I can't let the audience just be... That'd be so weird for the audience to suddenly see me bleeding everywhere. So I just sort of kept it behind my back.
What a pro! What a pro!
And then when it finished, I sort of just threw it off stage. And then the lights
On to the audience. Here's something for you to sell on eBay later on. OK, let me ask you about the reason you've come on here, because there is a reason. You're involved in War Child, which is a charity I've known about for years, and I know the work they do is so important. Tell me how you got involved with them.
Well, my brother used to be in the army, and he was stationed in Afghanistan, and when he was there, he heard about a local girls' school that had been closed down because the Taliban had poisoned their well. So they had no clean drinking water, so the girls couldn't go to school. And so my brother, just completely off his own sort of initiative, decided to start raising money for the school. So he got, lots of my parents' fundraising, and my future sister-in-law and all of our friends, and he got all this money. But it was all raised in England, and he had no way of getting it to the school because it's all very complicated, bringing money across the border, obviously. And he wrote to War Child, and they just said yes immediately, and took the money and got it to the school, and the school reopened, and, happy ending. And they were just extraordinary. And so when that happened, we started talking to them, and I've been kind of chatting to them for a year or so now, just to sort of really find out what they do. And it's been amazing just to get to know what they do as a charity. So they work with children in conflict, and they protect and educate children in some of the most difficult places to live in the world. That was my sort of way in, but now I just think I couldn't think higher of them.
So you're an ambassador for them, and you work for them as well. I guess because, everyone involved in conflict is a victim of sorts, but it's very easy to see why the children in particular are suffering needlessly. And you've travelled out to some of the areas they work in.
I went on my first trip, I went to the Democratic Republic of Congo about a month ago to go and see the stuff that they do out there.
And what was your impression of the people you met there? How did you feel about the kids you met in particular?
The kids were amazing. They're wonderful. It's an incredibly difficult place to live. There's an awful statistic that 1 in 6 children in the DRC won't see their 5th birthday. But the children there are extraordinary, and the work that War Child is doing there is just amazing. They're so brilliant at being... They engage with each child on a personal level, and they try to follow children's stories throughout. So they don't just go in and do a quick fix with someone, or throw some aid. They take a child and they really nurture them and try and rebuild their lives.
So they're there for support later on as well. You said it was kind of your brother and your brother's involvement in the help that needed to be done out there that got you involved in War Child. But isn't he the reason you act as well? Wasn't he the actor in the family earlier?
Yeah, he was. My brother was in... We lived in Germany when we left after living with Gordon, and and we went to the International School of Dusseldorf, and my brother got into the school play. They did a production of The King and I, but I was 6 and I think I was sort of 2 years too young, and he was in it, and we went to go and watch him in rehearsals one day, and I thought, I don't remember thinking this, but apparently I just burst into tears because I was devastated that I couldn't be in it. And I made such a fuss that they just let me come on stage, and then that was my first play.
Hold on, you got allowed on stage even though you didn't have a part?
Yeah, they kind of, I became one of the kids, and, there's millions of them in that play.
I never knew you were such a diva.
I know. I know, that was my way in. Yeah.
Lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about War Child, but also your career as well. Thank you to all my guests, ladies and for now, the lovely Carey Mulligan. Thank you so much.